Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday evening. I hope you join us. We have quite a show for you tonight. It's the 120th Monica Makes It Happen Facebook show live from New York City. We're talking about back to school during COVID. 1 million students are going back to school. We have a powerful panel tonight. I can't even believe that we have them. We have principals and technology experts that are ready to talk to you, answer your questions. So please give us your questions. Whether you're going to public, private, Catholic schools, send us your questions. We have an amazing panel ready to answer as we go. And a lot of them have hands-on experience during COVID-19 and what it's like, the new normal, making sure that our kids are safe. There's nothing more important. There's no other story right now that's more important. And I just want now to toss it to my colleague, Kala Rama, with the very latest.
Of course it will open it.
That was just Monday. But what a difference 2 days makes. The mayor and Department of Education failing to keep their promise after 6 months of New York City schools being closed. Parents, students, and teachers living in limbo.
All learners will begin full-day programs remotely on Monday.
Yes, that's right. The majority of students will be remote on Monday. In-person classes delayed again in New York City for K through 12 students. Here's how grades will be phased in. This Monday, 3K and pre-K in special education schools will be welcomed back to the classroom. Then the following Tuesday, September 29th, elementary and K through 8 schools will reopen. Then 2 days later, on Thursday, October 1st, middle and high schools will welcome back students. The mayor said safety concerns from the principals and teachers union made the city stagger the start dates, and a shortage of teachers was the tipping point.
The thing we all came together on and said really had to be nailed was the staffing level. That this was the area where the specific number had to be agreed on together, and we had to take a bigger step.
The city is hiring 4,500 additional teachers from CUNY, adjunct professors, graduate students, and substitutes. But that's just half the educators still needed. With consistent ventilation issues, a lack of PPE, and poor contact tracing, teachers are not sure another week will actually make a difference.
The head of the principals union telling me because staffing is the biggest issue, analysis will come next week of how many more teachers need to be added for the reopening of middle and high schools. That number will be brought to the city, and hopefully more teachers will be added next week. Once again, we'll wait for that announcement from the mayor. As far as these educators are concerned, just heard, they gave the mayor a grade for how he's handled the situation. They said an F- for how the mayor has handled the reopening of New York City schools.
Wow, thank you, Kala Rama. That's my colleague in F. Wow. But a lot of parents, again, have so many questions. We have a power panel tonight of principals and a technology expert to answer your questions live. I'm so excited. John Paul Barnabuff, the principal of St. Paul and St. Anne in Manhattan. Kristen O'Leary, the principal of John Cardinal O'Connor School in Irvington. These are incredible schools. Thank you for joining us. And Larry Lieberman, the CEO of Mouse.org. I love their slogan, helping use technology as a good source. And so he's here to talk to us a little bit about your technology questions, because so many of us are struggling with our Zooms, our remote learning, and what is it going to look like is the big question. But first, let's talk about the stats, shall we? Can you believe this? The mayor actually said, confirmed that in New York City, the school staff tested positive for COVID-19. There was 55. And the DOE also said that 42% of the city's 1 million public school students have requested remote learning, and then that's up 26% since August 10th. So what that kind of translates into, if it's just too much numbers for you, is that more and more parents, and I know myself included, are opting for the technology and for maybe holding back their kids just a little bit until more is planned and developed. But we have our Catholic schools who have been rocking it for the past week. They're already back, and they've been doing an incredible job. I want to start off with you, Mr. Barnabuff, a principal at a fantastic school here in Manhattan. You know, how are you helping your students? This is such a new normal, and so many parents have high anxiety about this. How are you helping them cope right now?
That's an excellent question. One of the major things that I want to stress to all the families and also the teachers is that we have really strict social distancing guidelines throughout the school. That traditional classroom of having, 30 kids maybe crammed in a classroom really isn't existing anymore. Most of our classes right now, either they're in a gym where it's nice and open space, or they're going to have only about maybe 7 or 8 students in the class. And there's plenty of room for a 6 feet distance. There's also plenty of room, and this is important, also for the teachers, that they have that social distance as well. All the students have to wear masks. The teachers have to wear masks, but we also are providing PPE for any of the teachers or any of the staff that requests it on top of that. The rooms are all very well ventilated. They have windows wide open. Some windows that haven't been open probably in 20 years are open, and we have exhaust fans to get that air moving as well.
Yeah, that's true. So it's true, Mr. Brown. You're saying that because, a lot of times we were afraid to open the windows for safety reasons, and now that has all changed. We need ventilation. We need focus on the, and kids making sure that they keep their hands clean. And then these extraordinary heroes, also known as teachers, that have really, they have stepped up to the challenge, right?
I 100% agree with you. When you look at when I was a teacher, when Kristen was a teacher, we were taught a certain way how to teach. And in a year, that's all been flipped on a dime. They've now not only learning how to teach digitally, they're learning how to teach students that are remote learning and in person at the same time. A challenge that is just unbelievable. One of the things that Kristen and I do is we look at what the teachers need, and we're there to help and support them in any way that they can. But I think you also brought up.
We love you. We love principals. You guys are doing an amazing job. And so many people on Facebook right now are saying, I have to go back to work, so I have to trust you. A lot of parents don't have the option of just doing virtual learning. So going to you, Ms. O'Leary, how do you reassure not just parents who are nervous, but they do need to hand off their kids, they need to go to work, but how do you reassure the teachers? And how's it going?
It's going really well. Like John was saying before, we're really right there with our teachers. Our main goal is to support our teachers in anything that they need. So we're in the trenches right there with them. The one thing that hasn't changed about our Catholic school system and the teachers is that our main goal is compassion and safety and the love of our kids. So that hasn't changed one bit. The vibe and the feeling that we have in our buildings is still exactly the same. It looks a little different and we're doing things a little bit differently, but the kids are resilient. They're way more resilient than many that I know. So they're just happy. They're happy to be back. They're happy to their friends, mask or no mask. We're just there and we're keeping a sense of normalcy as much as we possibly can to know that when they walk in our doors, they're loved and they're safe. And we're here to protect them as much as we can, but to also have fun and educate them and just give them back something they've been missing for quite some time.
Yeah, and so many questions.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
There's so many questions coming in about how the little ones are going first. There's that question, and about AC. There's so many different details, but what I've sensed with my own children going back to school is that it's really up to every individual parent, and it's really important communication, like making sure to ask these questions, to not be afraid, right? And you have that open door policy, but how do you do that? Like, is there something that you're doing differently because of COVID-19 with your communication?
So we're always very available to begin with, but we've been open with communication from, the very middle of the summer when we started to get plans in place. We've tried to be as clear as we possibly can. We're all carrying down, really strict guidelines from the Arch, best practice for our schools, and we've been very open with our plans with our families from the very beginning. We had, full Zoom calls with our.
But the reality, I love Queen has commented that this is a house of cards. It really is, because this is where we all are one, and we are a community, because we all have to stay healthy, because it just takes one illness to kind of impact everybody. So I hear you, Queen. Queen is saying, right, Al? It's a bit, people are very concerned.
Yeah, I wanted to call out another comment I'm seeing from Kimberly Cruz, who says, I just changed from blended learning to remote on Monday. I'm not convinced it's safe to send my child back to school, and I'm not sure the best way to go into remote learning. And I think that's the best segue to bring in Larry, who can kind of talk to that angle for parents who aren't exactly sure about how to make that transition.
a bumpy school year like none we've ever experienced. We created mouse.org, though, 20 years ago as part of this national movement to use nonprofit organizations to supplement and drive technology innovation into learning. So, when the web was becoming a household appliance in this country, schools were not the first to embrace the technology, and Mouse literally was founded to help New York City schools bring in networks that would allow students to learn online. As it has evolved over the last 20 years, we formed something called Mouse Squads, which was literally training the students to run these IT networks and prepare them right from New York City public schools for careers in high tech here in the New York metro area and wherever they would choose to go. So now we look at this school year, and the city is using tools that have been developed over the last 5, 6, 7 years to really accelerate and empower parents as best as can be done to allow their students to learn from the children to
Larry,
learn from
I love
home.
that, empowering parents. That's what we're all about here at Pix 11 too. And they just announced no snow days because they finally kind of figured out that you can still learn from home. You can still teach with the technology, and that it can actually be quite powerful. And I've been watching my own kids' teachers doing an incredible job in teaching and finding clever ways of doing it. Do you have any tips for teachers that might be watching, or parents, that they can maximize their experience when they are learning from home?
Sure. Over the last 6 months, Mouse has been working with the New York City Department of Education to train teachers to use the online learning tools that are available now across the board. So what we've done is created 6-tiered courses from the most basic introduction, because what we have to do when we work with teachers is the qualities that make someone an extraordinary classroom teacher don't necessarily immediately and naturally migrate into the online environment. So what we tell teachers first and foremost is to stay on a schedule. It doesn't have to be the same schedule from your physical learning days, but do your best to stay on a schedule. And just the way teachers are impeccably organized in the real world, to take the time to create organization in your digital world. And that takes...
Any tips from the principals? I'm curious to hear from Mr. Barnaba. Have any tips that you can give to teachers or parents watching that can maximize their experience right now learning from home?
I think the best thing is to continue to ask questions, if there's any issues that you have, rather than sometimes beating your head against the wall for like 5 minutes trying to figure it out. You can always reach out to either maybe it's a school tech person or what have you, the school, and we can possibly figure out what might be that tech issue. And if it's a hardware issue, we're available to help you and support.
You know what I find fascinating in my own kids' school is that they've created positions just for that, where someone actually is the designated technology person, so that if there is some sort of problem, right, Miss O'Leary?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's so interesting that you said the same thing. Just pick up the phone and call us, because we want you to have a worthwhile experience at home as well. That's our goal, is that, every student counts, every student is just as important and special as the next. So we want your experience to be just as good as if you were in seat.
And we're not going to be perfect. It's far from perfect. I mean,
no one is perfect.
And, I'd like to end with some, Elle's back. Elle, what are people saying?
I saw a comment from Sherry who asked if we could pull up those school dates again. So I just wanted to share my screen and share those dates. This was the New York City Public Schools announcement today that not all city schools will begin in-person learning on Monday. So these are the dates on the screen here, and I'll post it in the comments as well, just to answer Sherry Mata's question.
Yeah, I mean, everything was pushed back for public schools, right? But for Catholic schools, they started last week. So that's why we have our principals from our Catholic schools here, because they've actually done it for a week. So they're a little ahead of the rest of us. So they're kind of giving us their experience and strength and courage in doing this and what they've learned. Maybe we can learn a little bit from what you've done, because you've been so successful so far, knock on wood. So, we're praying for you. Now, hope. Let's end with a little bit of hope for our parents and teachers who are watching. I'd like to start off with you, Mr. Barnaba.
The best thing I can think of was that my own son, who attended school for the first time in 6 months, I never saw him smile so much. You can, even though he was wearing a face mask, you can see him smiling so much. And I think that opportunity for our students to just be able to be with their peers again is something to be hopeful for.
Isn't that true? And that's really the bottom line for parents. If the kids are happy and they're excited, that's all we really, really care about. And of course, that they're safe. And we're hoping that that's the case. So Ms. O'Leary, what is your hope for the future, especially for parents who might be really nervous right now?
So I would just say we need to take it 1 minute at a time and take a breath and realize that we're all here to do what's best for our kids and what's best for our teachers, and just to do this all, the best way we possibly can. I had a brand new little boy start in our 3rd grade class, and I went around at the end of the day and I said, "So how was it? What's going on?" And he said, "This is the best day ever."
And Roseanne said, not just happy, healthy. We have to make sure they stay healthy. So that ends with Larry. The technology, a lot of people are opting for the virtual. What is your hope for parents and teachers?
We tell teachers and parents, the same: stay calm. Teachers know children learn from everything around them, not just when they're in the classroom. So technology is a wonderful bridge to expose them to new things, and it can be fun. It takes more patience, but stay calm.
Yeah, and Rosa is saying health first, and that's exactly right. And it's also mental health, because our kids also need that one-on-one time as well. Some of them are opting for that. But what a great panel, right, Al? We had a great panel of principals, and thank you for all of your questions. If we didn't get to your questions, I apologize, but this will live forever. And I'm so grateful to our wonderful principals at the Archdiocese. We can't thank the Cardinal enough for giving us 2 of his best here tonight. And then, of course, our Larry Lieberman with mouse.org, doing incredible things for so many years now in the technology realm for our kids, using it for good, using technology for good. We thank you, and thanks for all your questions tonight. And of course, we're wishing the best for all the families across our area. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to watch Pix 11 at 5 o'clock every night. We're making it happen.